Joe Skeletor Giannetti.
What's going on, YouTube? We're here for the UFC 308 recap. I know it's a couple days late, but it's wedding week for you boys, so trying to get it in as soon as possible. Had to work all day yesterday, but we're here. First things first, I just want to say thank you to everybody that's been tuning in on YouTube and liking the videos, commenting on the videos. I appreciate it. More and more coming out on YouTube, so if you haven't, subscribe to the channel. As for UFC 308, it was a lot. A lot of highs, a lot of lows, a lot more lows depending on who you were rooting for, but some controversy all in the same. I know I did the UFC 308 main card breakdown. We're just going to recap the biggest points from the entire fight card. First thing first, on the prelims, we had the Renat versus Carlos Leal fight. I don't know how to say Renat's last name, so I'm not even going to bother butchering it. But I thought it was 30-27 across the board for Carlos Leal. He took the fight on short notice. It was a whole big story about how he had to get the fight. His semi-retired coach had to actually step in his place to take his former fight so that he could be released from his UAE Warriors contract. So first of all, really cool on his coach's part, being like, yeah, come out of retirement to get my guy in the UFC. But two, I thought Leal fought a great fight. You know, he did what he needed to do to get the win. It was a good fight, and the judges didn't think so. 30-27 the other way for Renat was kind of crazy. There's just no reason that judging like that should be allowed. Unfortunately, I think it's not going to change. We're going to see more and more of that at UFCs in Abu Dhabi. But maybe we'll get a little bit more improvement the more cards they have over there. They'll understand it a little bit better, but I doubt it. First low part of the night, obviously we had Kennedy Njoku. I don't know how to say that last name, so if I butchered it, that's on me. Versus Chris Beast Boy Barnett. Obviously a fan favorite, super nice guy from what I see on social media. I'm a big fan myself. He pulled a Brian Ortega. Obviously he was warming up. He took that big jump, you know, to get himself hyped up, and it looked like he tweaked his leg afterwards, hearing that he had hyperextended his hamstring. Obviously, if you saw the fights, you saw the instant replay, and the spinning wheel kick that he threw also seemed to have, you know, been the final straw. I hate to see it. You know, like I said, Chris Barnett, big fan favorite. The spinning wheel kick was nice, but you're fighting a guy as big as Kennedy. You just got to be careful with your weapons, and I feel like it was, especially after tweaking his leg, I feel like it wasn't the best move to be throwing that kick, especially when you have to reach. But, you know, hopefully they give him another shot. Hopefully he bounces back. He is fun to watch, but he's got to go on a win streak. He's got to do something if they give him another shot. I think this was one of those signings that they did a little late in his career because they knew people have been talking about him for years. He would go viral. Big fat guy doing cartwheels and 720 kicks and all that stuff. But I think he really has to, you know, put some wins together to stick around. Next up on the prelims, the Matus Rebecki in the Mitbek Oralbay fight was absolutely bananas. That fight was nuts, had me on the edge of my seat, and not just because I picked Oralbay on all my parlays, or majority of them. The fight was nuts, you know what I mean? And at the very end, Oralbay was taking a beating in that third round, and it really looked like he was going to get put away, and he came back, he got a takedown himself, he was on top. I think he was way too beat up and too gassed to be dropping any elbows, but he was trying. He dropped a couple, tried to trade, he tried to hunt down Rebecki towards the end of the fight. Yeah, guaranteed 50K for both of them. Love to see it. You know, those are two guys that both fight at 55s. Maybe one day I'll have the honor of sharing the octagon with them. You know, Rebecki is, I don't know how old he is, but I know Oralbay is only in his 20s. Banger of a fight, you know. It was awesome as a fan. It was fun to watch even as just a fighter. Crazy. Jeff Neal and Rafael Dos Anjos was so disappointing. Like, another leg injury on this fight card. It's crazy. You start to worry that the main event's going to get hurt as the night goes on, or the co-main or something like that. You always hate to see a fight end like that, especially being a legend like RDA. And I do think it was going to be a crazy fight. Obviously, Jeff Neal on the feet and RDA on the ground, clash of styles. I was really excited to see who would pull it out. I thought RDA was going to pull it out, even though he was the underdog. Jeff Neal looked great. RDA obviously was got injured in the fight. Is what it is. I don't know what's next for RDA. He's in like a super weird spot where I feel like he hasn't been in title contention for years. He's always fighting a killer. He really doesn't care who he fights. He's beating good guys. He's beating up-and-comers. He's beating guys that are about to be in title contention, but he never really strings anything together. So I don't know what's next for RDA, and I think his age is getting up there. Jeff Neal, I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing him fight Bilal again, but he's also got to go on a win streak himself. You know, you could always run the Wonder Boy rematch back, because I don't know what's next for Stephen Thompson, obviously coming off that knockout loss. But yeah, definitely plenty of possibilities for the both of them. On to the UFC 308 main card. Obviously, the attack that everybody is talking about, the the Shara Bullet Magomedov double spinning back fist. I said it live on the Fight Companion when it happened, but that is like the go-to day one. I just walked in the door at this gym. I want to start sparring move. I've probably done it. I've seen plenty of guys do it to me when you hit them with a jab and they kind of cower and they throw a spinning back fist, but you hit them again, so they spin a back fist the other way, and it looks like the dumbest thing ever. He made it work. And not only that, he said in his post-fight interview that he trains that, and that's his move. And, you know, I thought it was BS, but then I saw a clip of on Fight Week doing an open workout. He threw a double spinning back fist. You love to see it. You love seeing guys actually use things that they're training and that they're perfecting, and especially on the big stage like that. That was freaking awesome, and I'm sure everybody's going to be throwing double spinning back fists at me next week because that's just the way this game goes. Magomed Ankalaev versus Alexander Rakic. Did this last week. Anyways, good fight. You know, I think they both looked really good. I don't know if that's the fight that gets Ankalaev a title shot. You know, should it rankings-wise and getting the wins? Yes, he got the job done. He beat another killer. He's the #1 contender. Probably should get the fight. The way the UFC is, the way the entertainment business is, I just don't know if that's the performance that makes people go, oh, I want to watch that fight. Are people tuning in just to watch Magomed Ankalaev? I'm sure in certain parts of the world, but I feel like the casual fan base not so much. So I don't know if they give him the title shot, but I definitely think he deserves it on his accolades. He looked really good. They both did. His hands are fast, man. That's probably the most I've paid attention to a Magomed Ankalaev fight, and his hands looked crisp. That left hand, he was missing by a couple of inches, and then into the second and third round, it started hitting the tip of Racic's chin. It was awesome. You know, I love the footwork. I love the pressure, but the way he talks compared to not getting finishes, it's a tough look. I still think he probably gets the next title shot, though. Now, if foot in mouth was a person, it would be me the night of UFC 308. The co-main and the main event did not go how I wanted. It did not go how I thought they would. I knew that there were possibilities. I just thought there were such small possibilities that it would almost never happen. But that was the night. First things first, Robert Whittaker, Bobby Knuckles versus Khamzat Chimaev. I will say this. One, on Khamzat's part, he is so smart to just be like, why am I going to strike with any of these guys if I know I can take them down and break them? You know, whether it's a championship fight, a #1 contender fight, or you're fighting your way up the ladder, why do it? Why put yourself in those dangerous situations? He's done it before, and he's got nothing but criticized for it. Banger fights with Gilbert Burns, he gets criticized for it. You know, banger a fight with Kamaru Usman, he gets criticized for it. Myself included. Definitely seeing him go to war with those smaller guys makes you wonder, how are you going to do against the top of the top at middleweight? Well, he showed us. If he fights the way that he should and he fights the easiest path to victory, he'll get it done. Doing that to Robert Whittaker is insane. It's the double leg out the gate, super out of range at that. Gets the takedown, he controls Robert Whittaker. Whittaker gets back up, which he did a phenomenal job staying calm. At the first takedown, he didn't take any damage, used the cage, fought his way back up. I thought the fight was on right there. As soon as he escaped, I thought he was about to circle to the center and just start getting to work. Khamzat, reshoot. The biggest thing I learned in high school wrestling was shoot, 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 go, go, go. If the opportunity is there, shoot, they break away, you reshoot. Or they shoot, you defend, and you reshoot. And that's just what Khamzat did. As soon as Whittaker got to his feet, and I'm sitting at home thinking, oh, he's all set. And you could see Whittaker standing there in the cage going, all right, finally, it's my time. Khamzat's on his legs again. Wasn't ready for it, wasn't expecting it, and he got put back down. And the grip that Khamzat got to finish that fight, not only was it super quick, it was so powerful, so tight. Never seen Whittaker tap. I've never seen anybody that high caliber tap that fast. After watching the replay, I do think that Khamzat's forearm was almost across Whittaker's mouth, so I think it almost separated his mouth open, and then I think that's also why the jaw fractured and the teeth fractured. I did also see a video that Whittaker, apparently when he was like 19, he fractured his jaw. He had to get a metal plate on the side, and that's why he grew out the goatee, and he just never shaved it. Not taking away from Khamzat's strength, because he broke a man's face with his bare hands, but it's just crazy to see an injury from 19 years ago can resurface at the worst time possible, you know what I mean? Obviously, it was because of Khamzat. But yeah, that picture is going to haunt me for life. Seeing his teeth like in the back of his mouth, and then the x-ray of his skull, and seeing just like all the fractures across his jaw. You know, as a fight fan, it sucks to see that happen to Robert Whittaker. It is the name of the game. Khamzat said that in his post-fight speech. I'm so on the fence about Khamzat. As a fighter, I love him. When he gets on the mic, I'm so 50-50 about him, especially with his inactivity. But if he can stay healthy, depending on when they're trying to book it, I think he should skip Sean Strickland for the title shot. A performance like that for a guy like Whitaker that Strickland wouldn't fight. Strickland said, I'll fight for the title and then you can go fight someone else and then fight me. I'm not blaming Strickland either, but you make certain choices, you get certain results. He didn't want to stay active. He didn't want to fight. He didn't want to fight a top guy like Whitaker. Khamzat did. He hasn't been super active, but he finally came back. He fought one of the top guys, and he put him away like nobody else ever has. And I feel like that carries more weight than decisions over Paulo Costa or decisions over other guys ranked lower than Khamzat, Strickland, and Whitaker. Yeah, Khamzat's next. Robert Whitaker, I hope that he can fully recover. I hope he takes as much time as he needs, and I hope we get to see him again, and I hope the time off doesn't really affect him too much. I don't think he's old per se, but another guy, age is getting up there. The new generation was really taking over at UFC 308, and you could see it. Last, definitely not least, most heartbreaking fight of the night. I didn't think it was possible for me to be more heartbroken than when Robert Whitaker got his jaw broken, but seeing Max Holloway get knocked out by Ilia Topuria was definitely a sad moment for MMA fans across the globe. I think even people rooting for Ilia were sad to see Max like that. And it's always funny because, you know, obviously it's his first knockout loss, but seeing Max lose, I feel like other people almost get more upset than Max. Max is such a gamer, and he's such a, you know, Ilia gave him the nickname that he gladly accepted of bounce back. Like, he is that guy. Like, he's willing to bounce back. He knows this sucks, but I'll bounce back. This is no different from his post-fight speech, his post-fight Instagram post. Round one, you know, they both looked great. I think the first and second round, Ilia won the first half of each round. It seemed like the second half of both rounds, Max really found his range, and he was pawing at him, and he did a great job kicking. He wasn't just boxing. There's this whole thing because Max keeps saying I'm the best boxer in the UFC, that he's just going to box with Topuria. Which is the same reason why when Topuria said, I'm going to point to the center in the first 10 seconds, Max was like, that's not how this works. We do this at the end, because I got to see what I'm working with first. Which, you know, I think did show the respect that Max had for Ilia, and not just him, anybody he's fought in the past. But Ilia came out, he pointed in the first 10 seconds, Max did the whole matador, you know, he was ready to go, and they went and did their thing. You know, Ilia looked great, his power is insane, his footwork, his technique, it's madness how good his striking is, and he's a grappler. I was trying to explain it to my buddies. Ilia Topuria is a grappler, and take it from someone who, maybe not to that degree, I get the same reactions. You know, my Karate Combat fight, question mark kick knockout, Cage Titans, jumping switch kick knockout. I've had plenty of moments on the feet in my fights where people are like, wow, your striking is so good. I'm a grappler. I wrestled in high school. I was atrocious at it. I grew up grappling after high school. As soon as I got out of wrestling and I graduated high school, I was doing jiu-jitsu and I was doing MMA, but it was mostly jiu-jitsu. And I sucked at striking and eventually figured it out, and it kind of became my thing. I feel like Ilia is in the same spot where his striking is so good that people just look at him as the next coming of Conor McGregor. But he's the whole package, you know? He can submit you, he can knock you out, and not just to bums, to anybody. He can do it to Max friggin' Holloway and Volkanovski in one calendar year. It's crazy. I don't like a lot of the things he says on the mic before the fights, but what he says afterwards, you know, everything is to sell the fight. People forget that. I forget that. I definitely get caught up in the heat of things. But I love Max. I'm not going to say I love Ilia just as much as him, but as a fighter to fighter, I love his skill set. I love what he's doing in the cage, off the mic. And he is humble after his fights, you know what I mean? So I can't go against that. But Max looked great too. It wasn't like Max had an off night. It wasn't like Ilia caught him with a lucky punch after getting beat up. It was a good back and forth. I had Max up 2 rounds. I think that he was really pushing the pace when he was doing well. You know, I feel like Ilia would land 1 shot, get out the way, 2 shots, get out the way. He did hit a nice takedown in the first round, landed a couple punches, but he didn't really do much with it. So I don't know how much the judges would have given that to him, but when Max was really finding his range and feeling his rhythm, he was putting his foot on the gas. You know, he's putting out as much as he could, and he was mixing it up. Body shots, leg kicks, that jumping side kick stomp to the knees of Topuria, which in the second round, you saw buckle him once. It was really starting to kick in on Topuria's lead leg when he was orthodox. So it sucks to see Max lose. It extra sucks to see Max lose when he was doing so well. But, you know, watching the fight, I always had this feeling, even while watching Max do so well, I was like, why do I feel like just 1 shot could change this whole fight? And it did. He landed that right hand on Max's face, dead center, point blank range, and it wobbled him, and then he stepped on the gas. And I think Paul Felder said it during the fight. The spot where Ilia Topuria is most dangerous in that cage is against the cage. As soon as he steps outside of that octagon outline in the center of the cage, it's Ilia Toporia's world. We saw it in the Volkanovski fight, now we've seen it in the Max Holloway fight, and we've seen it in plenty of his other UFC fights. As soon as he gets your back foot on that cage, his ability to cut the cage off, not just follow you like a lot of these guys do, but to cut you off and lead you into his next shot is amazing. And I think it's something that's still underutilized in MMA. It's something that I try to focus on, and I'm sure everybody's training, but to see it actually in live competition, it is impressive. It really is. I love it. It reminds me of boxing where you're cutting them off in the corner. Obviously, it's more difficult in the octagon because it's not just a stiff corner. So seeing that in motion was crazy. It sucks it had to be against Max, but you heard him, cut him off. Max actually did a phenomenal job too in the Philly shell when Ilia was unloading on him in that first exchange after getting rocked. The commentators were going crazy and the crowd was going crazy, but Max was moving. He knew where he was. He did eat a couple to the head, a couple to the body, but he blocked the majority of them. Same thing as the Whitaker fight. When he did finally step out and circle out, I thought for sure, all right, that sucked, but we're back in the center. We're going to kick. We're going to get long. Didn't let him. He was on him again, landed another big shot, put him down, ground and pound, and it was over. Not a late stoppage, not an early stoppage. That fight was as clear-cut as it could have been. Good back and forth. I think Max was up both rounds, and then Ilia got him. And like I said, it wasn't one of those he was getting his ass kicked and got a lucky shot. You just felt it the whole fight. You felt like he could put Max away at any time, and he did. Sad day for MMA fans. Like I said, I'm sure everybody in Spain is having a blast. I'm sure everybody rooting for Hamzat's having a blast. But I also think at the same time, the guys that they beat are so well loved from the MMA community that even if you were rooting against them, you hate to see them like that. But they'll both bounce back. It was a crazy card, top to bottom. Next time we'll do our fight companion for the entire card when we have all the boys over. It'll be a party. It'll be after my wedding. It'll be in between fights. I'll be able to hang out with you guys and commit to it. But it was a good time. And if you didn't tune into the Fight Companion, you can go back and watch it on YouTube. You can go watch it on Kick. That's where we'll be having it in the future. It's just a lot easier to have it on both of those. So if some people, don't want to deal with ads on YouTube, they can go to Kick. Or if they don't have Kick, they can go to YouTube. But everybody that did tune in, I appreciate you guys. Everybody that watched this video, I appreciate you. If you could do me a favor and just like the video, comment on the video, what you liked about it, what you thought of the fights, and what you want to see on YouTube going forward, please do that for your boy. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate you guys, and I will see y'all after my wedding. Peace.